y'all. Welcome to the Kids on the Move new coach training. We are so glad that you've decided to become a coach. My name is Jackie, and I am the Director of Youth Programs here at Sportsbackers.
Hi everyone, I'm Noelle. I'm Sportsbackers Youth Programs Coordinator as well as the Customer Support Coordinator.
Hello, future coaches. It's great to be able to speak with y'all. My name is Alex Oliver, and I'm a summer intern here at Sportsbackers.
All right, guys, so today's video will equip you with the tools and knowledge that you need to be a great coach. We'll cover topics such as a brief overview of Sportsbackers and the Kids on the Move program, the role of a Kids on the Move coach, how to structure your club and manage student behavior. We'll go over some safety protocols, as well as the resources available to coaches and clubs. Then after the video, you'll be asked to review the materials in our new coaches folder, including a short quiz to reinforce what you've learned. So let's get started.
All right, we're going to start with just talking briefly about what is Kids on the Move. Kids on the Move is a program of Sportsbackers that supports running and fitness clubs that are happening at schools and other youth-serving organizations across the Richmond region. But to truly understand Kids on the Move, it helps to know a little bit more about Sportsbackers, the organization behind it.
As y'all know, Sportsbackers is a nonprofit with a mission to inspire active living in the Richmond region. This mission guides everything Sportsbackers does, from supporting youth run and fitness clubs with Kids on the Move to organizing events and advocating for more accessible places to be active. Our values drive our mission and influence every aspect of how we serve the community. These values include passion, empowerment, excellence, diversity, equity, while also valuing inclusion, respect, teamwork, and engaging underserved communities.
Thanks, Alex. It really does take a village to keep these clubs running. That's where Kids on the Move comes in. We're here to support both our coaches and our kids every step of the way. We start by making sure coaches feel prepared and confident to lead or assist their clubs. That includes new coach training, like you guys are doing right now, as well as seasonal kickoffs in both the spring and fall to get everyone started on the right foot. Beyond these trainings, we also offer additional support like mini grants for clubs, limited stipends for returning head coaches, and even equipment rentals for races and events. We also help outfit our teams by providing team t-shirts, which are free for Title I students and at cost for others. And when it comes to races, we make sure our kids have access. Each club has the option to participate in select Sportsbackers events, like the Tacky Light Run and Twilight 1 Mile, and the Monument Avenue 10K and 10K Mini. These entries, of course, are always complimentary for Title I students and for kids who need them. We also help provide athletic shoes for kids in need because every kid deserves the option to participate comfortably and confidently.
Okay, let's get into what it means to be a Kids on the Move coach. Regardless of whether you are the club's head coach or you are in an assistant coach role, there are two things that apply to all coaches. First, we expect that all coaches embrace the Kids on the Move coaching philosophy. And second, we expect that you care about the kids. This one doesn't need any explanation, but I will give you a brief overview of the 7 beliefs outlined in our coach's philosophy. You will find the full Kids on the Move coaching philosophy document in the new coaches folder. But for now, let's cover the basics. We expect all coaches to embrace the following values and beliefs. First, make it fun. Second, ensure safety. Third, be progressive and goal-oriented. Fourth, provide positive reinforcement. Fifth, promote inclusivity. Sixth, foster life skills and character development. And seventh, foster teamwork and support. You will see these values show up throughout this training in each of our coaches' kickoffs and ultimately in the clubs that you are a part of. So that is what all the coaches have in common. Now let's talk about the difference between a head coach and an assistant coach. Please keep in mind that each club operates a little differently, so these roles will ultimately be determined by the team of coaches at each site. In general, head coaches serve as the primary point of contact between the club and us here at Kids on the Move. In their role as the point of contact with Sportsbackers, they typically manage the race registration process, report the number of participants when requested, conduct the end-of-season surveys, and coordinate packet pickup ahead of Sportsbackers events. In other words, they take on the bulk of the admin work. Head coaches also serve as a liaison with the school or organization for things such as getting permission slips out and being aware of unexpected school closures. They are the person that's responsible for maintaining communication with the club's other coaches and the parents. At most clubs, the head coach is the one who plans what is going to happen at each practice, but some head coaches may delegate the planning or planning of certain sections to their assistant coaches. So let's talk about the role of assistant coaches. These coaches are key to a successful club. In general, their role is to help carry out the practice plan and serve as another adult to help manage the group of students. Assistant coaches may lead certain sections of practice, such as the warm-up or cool-down. Assistant coaches play a key role in providing direct support to students and helping to supervise activities. Again, these roles and the dynamics between the team of coaches looks different at each site and should be worked out among the team of coaches.
Now that you know or feel confident about what your role looks like as a Kids on the Move coach, now it's time to think about how to structure your club. You'll want to start by thinking through the big questions. Is your club a running club, a fitness club, or is it a mix of both? Will you be training for a race? Is your goal to build mileage or to simply get the kids moving? Some clubs train for end-of-season events, like the Tacky Light Run and Twilight 1 Mile in the fall, or Monument Avenue 10K and 10K Mini in the spring, with the goal of preparing students to successfully complete the race. Every club looks different. This is usually determined by the head coach or the school. While Kids on the Move supports each program, the clubs are school or site-based and open to all fitness levels, so it's really important to keep inclusivity in mind when planning practices. So when structuring your club, the first thing you want to do is figure out the basics. What days of the week will your club meet? What time of day works best for you all? How long will each practice be? Many of our clubs meet once or twice a week for about 45 to 60 minutes during both the fall and the spring seasons. We also share seasonal timelines with suggested start and end dates so kids get the most out of their experience. Next, you'll want to start to think about your format. Some clubs focus solely on running or walking, while others mix in activities such as stations, strength training, or games. You'll also want to consider the number of kids you'd like to include and which grade levels will be participating. You'll want to aim for a group size that feels fun and manageable, but definitely not overwhelming. And when it comes to overall practice structure, consistency is always key. Kids do best when they know what to expect, so having the same rhythm each day makes transitions so much smoother. A solid practice might look like this. You start with arrival and check-in, followed by a warm-up using dynamic drills, then move into the main activity. This could be a game, a fun workout, or a run, and then you always want to finish with a cool-down. We encourage coaches to teach the same warm-up and cool-down regularly so that over time, kids can lead these parts themselves. This helps to build confidence and ownership. Of course, other things like announcements, attendance, tying shoes, and water breaks will happen during practice, but you'll want to try to keep them quick so kids spend most of their time moving. The more consistent and clear your routine is, the easier it becomes for everyone to settle in and enjoy the process.
Okay, we're going to spend a few minutes talking about managing student behavior, which is certainly a part of coaching a group of kids. There's no way to fully prepare you for this aspect of coaching in a few minutes over a video. We do ask that you review this topic in the handbook, which is covered on pages 10 through 13. When working with a group of kids, one of the first priorities is to get to know each other and build rapport with the kids that you will be coaching. Having a good rapport with the kids in your club will make them easier to manage, it'll ensure a healthy coaching relationship, and ultimately it's going to result in a better experience for everyone. But how do you build that rapport? For many, engaging with kids just comes naturally, but for others, it may take a little getting used to. Here are a few tips to help you with building and maintaining rapport. First, just be yourself. Don't try to portray what you think a coach should be like. Just do what comes naturally to you. You also can use humor. Humor is a great way to build rapport and make your club a fun place to be. You want to make sure that you're greeting the kids with excitement each and every time they attend your club. Let them know that you are glad that they are there. Also, be sure to let your passion shine through. If the kids see that you are excited about the workout for the day or the upcoming race, they're going to feed off of that energy and they'll be excited with you. Also, make sure that you're honoring your commitments. A big part of building rapport is establishing trust. They need to know that they can depend on you. If you say that you're going to play a fun game at the next practice, then you make sure that you do that. If you promise the kids a snack at the end of the next practice, then make sure that you give them that snack. You'll also want to try to find something in common with the kids. For many, that's going to be their commonality around their love of sports, running, and exercising. For some, you may have to find something else that you have in common. Once you figure that something out, use that as a conversation builder or something that you can reference throughout your coaching relationship. Last but not least, figure out what the kids are good at and point out their strengths as much as possible. Kids love to be praised, so be sure to have something to praise them about as often as possible. All right, beyond building rapport, another aspect of managing student behavior is providing structure for your club. Kids need and they thrive off of structure. If their experience at club is chaotic, their behaviors are going to reflect such. Be sure to create a structure from the very beginning because it's harder to come back and clamp down later on down the road after they've gotten comfortable with a relaxed environment. One way that you can do this is to create some team rules. A few suggestions for making your club rules. First, create the rules as a team. If the kids are a part of the rule-making process, they are more likely to follow the rules that are created. Also, you're going to want to keep the number of rules to a minimum. Generally speaking, you don't want to have more than 5 rules because it becomes difficult for the kids and honestly for the coaches too to remember the rules if there's too many of them. You also want to try to phrase your rules in the positive. Instead of saying don't say bad words, you can say use positive language or be kind to others. Be sure to include a rule which addresses your expectations for their participation at practice. For example, you might want to establish a rule that everyone must try their hardest at every practice. Be sure to think through how your team of coaches plans to hold students accountable to the rules. Will you all provide a reminder the first time a rule is broken? But what if the issue continues? Be sure to think through what your consequences will be. But more important than being ready with consequences is your plan for recognizing and rewarding positive behavior. Rewarding positive behavior is going to be the very best way to get the desired behavior from a child. The type of reward system will vary depending on the age range of the kids that you're coaching. And keep in mind that the prizes don't necessarily have to cost money. Consider offering options like allowing the child to lead the stretches or to pick the final exercise that the group will do that day. Or if it's an award for positive group behavior, you could offer to end practice 10 minutes early for free playtime. Something as simple as pointing out the positive behaviors you are seeing can help the other students fall in line. One other simple strategy to help manage student behavior is simply to be in close proximity to students that may be less focused or starting to misbehave. This can be as simple as moving where you are standing so that you are between 2 students who aren't paying attention or standing beside a student who may need a little extra help. Just your proximity as a coach can make a difference. Again, please spend a little time reviewing this topic in the Coach's Handbook, which can be found on pages 10 through 13. Another resource that many coaches have found helpful is the No Nonsense Nurturer handout, which can also be found in the New Coaches folder.
Thank you, Jackie. So now that we've talked about some managing behaviors, let's take a minute to cover something just as important: keeping our kids safe. Kids on the Move has a few key policies in place to make sure we're creating a safe and supportive environment for everyone. We'll go over each one in more detail, but here's a quick overview of what's ahead. Mandated reporting, background checks, and concussion protocol.
All right, so first we're going to start with mandated reporting and our background check policy. One of the primary ways that we keep our kids safe is by conducting background checks on all volunteer coaches, unless you're a teacher at the school that you lead the club at, in which case you've already had a background check conducted by the school system. We do this to make sure that every adult that Kids on the Move empowers to coach are adults that will ensure the safety of the kids in their care. As a coach, as for any person who works with youth and adolescents, Virginia law mandates that we report any suspected abuse and neglect. This includes things that you may notice or things that a child may divulge to you. I want to briefly cover what constitutes abuse and neglect, but you will need to review our Kids on the Move as Mandated Reporters document in the New Coaches folder for a full overview of this topic. Virginia defines an abused or neglected child as any child under the age of 18 whose parent or any adult responsible for his or her care has caused or threatened to cause a non-accidental physical or mental injury, or if they've had a child present during the manufacture or sale of substances where such activity would constitute a felony violation, where the adult has neglected or refused to provide adequate food, clothing, shelter, emotional nurturing, or health care, if they've abandoned the child or neglect or refuse to provide adequate supervision for the child, if they knowingly leave a child alone in the same dwelling with a person who has been convicted as a violent sex offender, and if they've committed or allowed to be committed any illegal sexual act upon a child. As a mandated reporter, you shouldn't wait for a child to spontaneously tell you about abuse. Be alert to possible signs of abuse, such as suspicious bruises and behaviors that might suggest the child has been maltreated. Most child abuse and neglect is not a one-time event, but occurs more often in a pattern over time. And many children are subject to more than one form of maltreatment. It's important to keep in mind that it is not your job to substantiate the abuse, only to report the reasonable suspicion. If you suspect the child in your club is being abused or neglected, you must immediately notify the person in charge of reporting for your school or your organization so that they can report it to Child Protective Services. We ask that if this happens, that you also make us aware in case the school were to contact us about the situation. It is ultimately the school's responsibility to report the suspected abuse. But if you don't feel like they are going to report it, or if there is some other reason that you can't go through the school for reporting, you can certainly contact Child Protective Services yourself. It's important to keep in mind that this must be done as soon as possible, but definitely no more than 24 hours after you suspect the abuse or neglect. The contact information for Child Protective Services and the steps for reporting can be found in the mandated reporting handout that you will find in the New Coaches folder.
Another way that we help keep our kids safe is through our concussion protocol. So let's talk a little bit more in depth about that. First, what is a concussion? A concussion is a type of traumatic brain injury that is caused by a bump, blow, or jolt to the head. We take head injuries seriously because at the end of the day, nothing matters more than the safety of our kids. So first, part of prevention is knowing what to look for. Here are some signs that can be observed by us as parents or coaches. If the child appears dazed or stunned, if they forget instruction or are confused about assignment, position, or unsure of the game, if they appear to be moving clumsily, if they answer questions slowly or lose consciousness, even if briefly, if they show mood, behavior, or personality changes outside of their own, or if they can't recall events prior to or after the hit or fall. And then, of course, there are some symptoms that can be reported by the child themselves. This can be if they report having a headache or feeling pressure in their head, if they're feeling nauseous or experiencing vomiting, if they're experiencing balance problems, or feeling dizzy or having double or blurry vision, if they report being bothered by light or noise, if they're feeling sluggish, hazy, foggy, or even groggy, if they're experiencing confusion or having concentration or memory problems, or if they're just not feeling right or feeling down. So aside from knowing what to look for, prevention is also about creating a culture of safety from the very beginning. What does that mean? That means setting clear expectations, like always keeping our hands and our feet to ourselves. It might seem small, but that simple rule can go a long way in preventing accidents. It also means not letting horseplay slide. If kids start roughhousing, it's best to step in quickly. And if a student can't safely do a movement like a karaoke or other advanced drills, it's okay to skip it. The ultimate goal is always to build their skills safely and gradually. You also want to make sure your space is set up for success. Give kids plenty of personal space. Think arm's length, and try to avoid overcrowding. One way you can do this is by having students move in waves, or by limiting how many participants move at one time. And of course, it's always important to keep a close eye on the group. Supervision is always key. When it comes to activities that can run a little more risk, like playing tag or running off campus, we recommend treating these as privileges. You'll want to save them for when the group is showing that they can follow directions consistently and safely. Now, we know, even with the best planning and precautions, accidents can still happen. So, if a child hits their head during practice, here's what you should do. First, you'll want to remove them from the activity immediately. They should sit out for the rest of the session, even if they say they feel fine. If there's a school nurse available, take them to get checked out. Then, you'll want to call their parent or guardian to let them know what happened, and you'll want to encourage them to have their child seen by a doctor. And before the student returns to practice, it's super important to follow up with the family and ensure that they've been cleared to safely practice again. And then, of course, just as a quick reminder, before we move on, please be sure to review the concussion information sheet in your new coach folder. It's all in there in more detail, and it's a great reference to keep on hand.
All right, so we have talked a lot about the Kids on the Move program from an adult perspective, but let's hear what a few of the kids have to say. Alex, what are these kids saying?
Well, Jackie, it seems that the kids have agreed that they joined the running club because it was fun and a way to stay healthy and make friends, while also saying that they joined to become more healthier and active than they used to be. A lot of them said that their favorite part was being with their coaches and classmates. And most importantly, they said that they learned how to have fun while exercising.
And that's what it's all about. All right, guys, we've covered a lot, and we know that you most likely will have questions after this and that you'll want to be able to stay in touch with us throughout your coaching journey. So a few ways that you can stay in touch. We've listed our email addresses on the screen. I can be reached at jackie@sportsbackers.org. Noelle can be reached at inheart@sportsbackers.org. You'll also be subscribed to our Coaches Corner newsletter, which you'll start to receive. We usually send it out about every other month. You can also find the Kids on the Move Coaches group, which is a private group just for coaches on Facebook. You can also follow us, Kids on the Move 804, on Facebook and Instagram.
Communication is key, guys, so please don't hesitate to reach out. All right, so as we wrap up, here are your next steps to get fully onboarded and ready to start with your club. First, please make sure to review the new coach folder. It's packed with helpful info and resources you'll want to keep handy. Next, you'll want to take a short quiz to confirm you've completed and understand the training. It's super quick and it helps us ensure that everyone's on the same page. You'll also want to complete your background check if you're not currently a teacher. You'll want to be on the lookout for an email from Checker, the service we use to process background checks. It should land in your inbox soon. And finally, if you're unsure of your coaching site, keep an eye out for your club connection email. This will include important details about your site, such as days and times of practice, your head coach contact information, and the next steps for getting your season started. We are happy to meet one-on-one with coaches who have additional questions or need some additional information. We're so excited to have you on board, and we can't wait to see the amazing impact you'll have this season. Thank you guys so much for being a part of Kids on the Move.
Welcome to the team, y'all.